Stretching isn't always bad. And as a matter of fact, the right amount of stretch can improve your yields. Come on, let's talk about how to nail that stretch perfectly. But before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want stronger, healthier plants, if you want bigger roots for better fruits, you gotta check out Real Growers Recharge. It's like an instant compost tea that holds more nutrients at your root zone, breaks those nutrients down, and makes them more plant available, getting more of your nutrients into your plants. Find out more about Recharge over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Come on, Hasi. You in the stretching, man? You in the yoga?
Yeah,
Pilates?
Let me grab my yoga pants, man. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it, man. Come on. When we talk about stretching, we're talking about when you go from veg to flower. You see,
plants will stretch.
Yeah, you think your plants are done growing. They'll go 12, 18 inches in a stretch, and that can be a problem if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, I always hear people say stop the stretch, but you're saying stop the stretch isn't universal.
Control the stretch, man, okay. All right? That does sound like something a yoga instructor would say, right?
Okay, so let's talk about it. When is stretching a good thing?
In early flower. Think about an early flower. You want to open up those budding sites. You want to get more airflow, more light to those budding sites. I always used to have, bud envy. I would see this giant bud, cola that was this big, and it was basically the one central cola on the plant. That's okay until you get bud mold, till you realize that there's not a bunch of quality trichomes deep inside. It's more plant material.
It's just all over the outside.
Yeah, so I'd rather a bunch of 3 or 4 gram buds all over the place, man. So I want my plants to stretch out, and I want to give each flowering site the ability to expand, or everything it needs to expand. All the air, all the light, all the moisture, sure.
Okay, and I think the one key difference that I see that you do is you top your plants, so the stretch isn't happening just in the center. It's kind of happening all over the branches.
Yeah, definitely. I am all about spreading out that canopy. I mean, that whole one giant central bud, that's great for, Instagram. Man, I'm looking to get a yield, man. So I want my whole canopy filled.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about some ways that you can control the stretch to get what you want.
Sure, absolutely. First one is lights. Plants are going to stretch towards the lights. Mm-hmm. So if you have the lights too high, they're going to grow, reach to grow into them. Or if you have the intensity too low, the light intensity too low, you're going to grow these stretchy plants. When you have a bunch of light right hitting that plant at its canopy, the plant's getting what it needs. It doesn't have to reach and stretch for it.
Okay, so lights, what's the next tip on controlling the stretch?
Imagine this, man. Environment. Temperature, though. Daytime and nighttime, if you want to learn more, it's temperature differential.
Okay.
You can control the stretch by changing the difference in the daytime and nighttime temperatures. When you have cooler nights, it slows down the hormone production responsible for stress. So it keeps them, shorter and squatter. So warmer days, cooler nights, and that's temperature differential. I think like 8 degrees is right around where it really controls the stretch. And we want to keep these plants from growing into the lights, being indoor growers.
So if your temperature is very close from day to night, it's going to just keep stretching at night.
Yep, you're not slowing those hormones down at night, so they're growing and elongating at night.
Stretching and elongating. Okay, for this last one, actually, I'm going to walk back a second because we were just talking about lights.
Yeah.
Not just distance and intensity, but spectrum matters too, right?
Spectrum, definitely, man. And thank you, Dr. Bugbee. Dr. Bruce Bugbee teaches you a lot of really good lighting information. There's red light, and then there's far red light. And the red lights cause stretch. So you got to be really careful. That's why they used to use metal halide, which is blue lights, to grow a short, squat plant in veg.
Right. We used to switch out the lights. We'd use one light for veg and one light for bloom.
And the HPS was a red light. It would make the plant stretch a bit more, so you'd get a bit of stretch, and then you'd get more bud development. Like we talked about, if you have more area for the CO2 to wash over the buds and the light to wash over the buds. That's how you're going to get bud growth. If everything's covered because it's too dense of a plant, you're not going to get that growth. So the amount of red light, you can use that to control the amount of stretch.
And you mentioned a second ago the difference between different types of red light.
Yeah, there's that far red light outside the PAR range, which is 730, 750 nanometer. And then there's the deep red that's 660. And this gets into a little bit deep water, but it's that ratio that determines how much it stretches. So if you're using one of those 730 nanometer lights or 720 nanometer lights for the Emerson effect, you got to be really careful about the ratio of that, because that type of light makes plants stretch.
All right, so I'm looking to get some far red and some deep red lights when I grow. I want the beneficial effects, but I'm a little bit concerned of overly stretching.
It's buy a good quality light where they've thought about that for you.
Okay.
You know, they put the right amount of, whether they're using far red and deep red diodes. Good lighting manufacturers will put the right ratio of them in to make sure that you're getting, whether that Emerson effect, but without getting a whole bunch of stretch. I don't think anybody wants a whole bunch of stretch. And a couple other things that you can do to control the stretch, and this is really working with the plant itself, but you can do low stress training, which is just taking either bamboo stakes or trellis or something like that and taking the plant and turning it sideways, or just bending it creatively so it's not right in the center, getting the lion's share of the light.
Okay.
You can certainly do that to control the stretch. High stress training is when you just take the plant and bend it, as they call it.
Give it that knuckle.
Yeah. So you can do that, and that'll just keep the plant from going right up into the lights, and it'll just change the direction. It'll also change the hormones, so stuff like that. And then the last one, if we're still in veg, is topping. If it's stretched and is growing into the lights, top that thing. Let it grow some new apical meristems. Let it grow some new flowering sites out of it. And it's a really good way to regain control.
So that one specifically, though, needs to be done in veg.
Yeah, definitely. We're trying to reshape the plant at that point.
Gotcha.
So that's just me. I don't think stretching is always a bad thing if you manage it correctly. But what about you? How do you control stretching in your garden? Let me know in the comments. Come on, if you like this video, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Share this one with another grower you know. And check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommend, and I hope you'll dig them.